Call this public meeting of the Township of Bonnechere Valley to order. Oh, thanks, Annette. Sorry, I didn't wait for you to log in there. Okay. I'm calling this meeting to order. Can I get an adoption of the public meeting minutes dated Tuesday, April 6th, 2021, please? Moved by Merv, seconded by Brent. Any errors or omissions in those minutes? All in favor? Thank you. Item number 1 is a minor variance. The applicant will be reducing the minimum required lot frontage from 45 meters to 42 meters for the retained lands. Property is located at Part Lot 36, Concession 22 in the geographic township of Grattan, municipally known as Zion Lutheran Church, Augsburg, 1251 Augsburg Road. Is there any declaration of interest? I see none. Clerk's reports on notices, please.
The notice was mailed to the abutting landowners within 60 meters of the property and posted. Excellent,
thank you. Reading of any written comments?
There wasn't any.
Thank you. Presentation by those in support of the bylaw. Presentation by those opposed to the bylaw. Presentation by applicant or agent. Comments, questions from council. Thank you all. That concludes that portion of our meeting. And now we must wait till 5:10. The people that are joining us for this public meeting, if you could please stay on mute. And if we get to the appropriate time where you would like to speak, if you could please use the raise hand. I hope everybody knows how to use that, or conversely, come out of the dark and raise your hand and I will happily call on you. Thank you.
So I just want to ask if council can all stop by the office at some time to sign the Committee of Adjustment decision of the one that just happened. The other ones are all zoning bylaw amendments, but the one that was just done was Committee of Adjustment. So that one requires everybody's signature.
Do you notice Dana needs anything? Well, Tim is there
Connie?
anyway.
Yeah.
I was going to say, does Dana need anything signed tomorrow, but Tim is there anyway. Or if she does, one of us will come in and sign.
Yes, and Tim's got to sign the.
Not Dana, Connie. Sorry.
I know that there's minutes to sign for the committee minutes, but I don't know if there's more stuff there for generations.
Does anything need to be signed for the AGM for generations?
Yes, but you sign that. So that one I've got covered.
Okay.
And there's checks too. Brent might stop in again. Maybe Jack will stop in. Who knows? Everybody has to stop in at some point.
Jennifer, if I can just ask for those who are going to be present for the 5:10 meeting, which is the zoning amendment for Brooker, if they can just identify themselves as well, because I'll need to make notice in the minutes that they were joining and provide notice of passing a bylaw if it comes to that.
Okay, thank you, Dana. I do see that I believe we have Craig and Kayla Brooker on the line. If you just wanted to come out of the dark and just let me know that that is you. Hi, welcome, thank you. Is there anybody else on the Zoom that is here for the rezoning lands for the purposes of cidery? I love that. I love the word. And the retail sale of related products. Is there anybody else on the call right now?
Yes, Marshall and Kathleen Buchanan.
Hello, Marshall and Kathleen. Hope you are well.
Yes.
Is there anybody else that is here with regards to the cidery? It is 5:10, and I'll call this meeting to order. If you are on the call again, I would ask that you mute yourselves. Thank you very much. Thank you. And we'll just wait for, okay. All right. Item number 2 is a zoning amendment. The purpose of the amendment is to rezone a 40-hectare farm to permit a cidery as additional permitted use in the rural zone. The cidery is proposed to include the traditional production of cider, the retail sale of related products, including cider, indoor and outdoor areas for public tastings, orchard tours, and areas for special events and required parking. The effect of the amendment is to rezone the lands from rural to rural exception 49 to permit the proposed use. The subject lands are part lots 4 and 5, concession 7, geographic township of Grattan, township of Bonnechere Valley, located at 1632 Scotch Bush Road. Property is owned by Craig and Kayla Brooker. Is there any declaration of interest? I see none. Clerk's reports on notices, please.
So the notice for the meeting was advertised in the Eganville Leader. It was also mailed to the abutting landowners within 120 meters of the property and mailed to the appropriate agencies.
Thank you. Reading of any written comments.
Yes, there were 2 written comments, and I will read them as follows.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Jennings, I'm writing to you about the proposed zoning of 1632 Scotch Bush Road. I am a neighbor and my house backs directly onto the property in question. I have some major concerns when it comes to opening a public cidery in such a rural community. Not only is the land in question heavily underdeveloped, the reason for that is that it's mostly swampland. We have come across a multitude of endangered species in the last 5 years of living here, such as red-spotted newts and blanding turtles. I fear developing the surrounding land will cause them to lose the amount of space they have left. Craig and Kayla have mentioned to us that they intended to open a cidery, but not that they intended to open it to the public. I have absolutely no issues with them running a small family business. Where I draw the line is opening it to public tours. These orchards back onto my property. I am diagnosed anagoraphobic, and while I understand my condition cannot and should not affect others, I want to feel comfortable in my own home and feel that this may be impossible with the proposed rezoning. I wish that they would have spoken more openly about their plans before submitting this application, as I fear this email may start a war I do not want. I'm writing to bring my concerns to the meeting if necessary, but I do wish to keep this as amicable as possible. Thanks for listening, Sarah Baker. And then as a follow-up, Sarah did email me as well to add, hi Dana, I'd like to add that I've been in contact with the MNR as well as the Species at Risk branch of environmental permissions regarding the nesting blanding turtles on the property in question. I will send along any information I can. I've also been speaking with our neighbors, none of which were informed of this proposal. Thanks, Sarah Baker.
Thank you, Dana. Presentations by those in support of the bylaw. Presentation by those opposed to the bylaw. Presentation by applicant or agent.
Hello.
Yes. Go ahead, Mr. Brooker.
So my name is Craig Brooker. This is my wife, Kayla. So we moved here in the fall of 2017, hoping to start a family-owned business here on our farm. So in particular, we want to start a cidery, like you said. We plan on making our ciders entirely with apples and fruit and everything grown on our farm, no added sulfites, additives, or yeasts. So a little bit about how we plan to operate our cidery. So we really truly aspire to be responsible land stewards, and with our goal to leave our land healthier than when we moved in. So right now we are participants of the Growing Eastern Ontario Organically program that's being run by the Canadian Organic Growers. And through this program, we hope to be certified organic. One of the major reasons that me and my wife chose this property as our home to raise our family and to open our business is because of its natural beauty and its biodiversity and the fertility. The reason we chose a cidery as the business that we want to open is because we want to make use of the naturally abundant apples that are growing on our property. So this will allow us to operate an agricultural business with minimal disruption to the land, the vegetation and the wildlife on it. So we also intend to use all of the existing structures to preserve the character of the farm and the area. So another thing is to give us an idea of the scale of the cidery that we plan on opening. Our medium-term plans, I would say within the next 5 to 10 years, is to produce approximately 10,000 liters of hard cider per year. So for context, one of the more predominant family-owned craft cideries in Ontario, which is the County Cider in Prince Edward County, they make Wapoos cider. You might have seen that in the stores. So they produce approximately 350,000 liters per year. We do expect that the majority of our clients will actually be ordering our cider online, but we do, and that pretty much all of the public foot traffic onto our site will be relatively small at first, probably stemming from the existing tourism and cottage industry in the area. Our long-term objectives is, of course, to support the agritourism within the area and our local, and to grow our local community. So to address the concerns that were raised and to show that we are taking them seriously, we did seek advice from professional consultant, our neighbor Marshall Buchanan, who has done a lot of who has extensive experience, consulting on conservation, including with major conservation authorities and various levels of government. And he has helped us kind of shape a general approach as to how we can deal with specifically the Blandings turtle. And so we do plan on updating our farm plan to include a subsection with to address how we will mitigate any threats to our species at risk on our property, such as the Blandings turtle. And so we're going to be mindful of several key points here. So one, Marshall confirmed that our property likely contains category 1, 2, and 3 habitat for the Blandings turtle. And he's told us that the way we are currently managing our property and plan to continue managing our property should pose no risk to the turtle. And it may even actually enhance the habitat. So for one, we're not deserving any of the category 1 habitat. So that's anything within 30 meters of their hibernation and nesting sites. We will not be obstructing their movements across our land, nor we will impede their migration by maintaining our operations in a seasonal, like when seasonally appropriate. And 3, we will be working to conserve their natural habitat. So that's anything category 2 up to 2 kilometers from the category 1 habitat by using farming practices that conserve and even enhance soil health and forest cover. So to that, we plan no major earthworks in those areas, and we won't be ripping anything out or anything like that. So we'll keep it very simple. So I did provide Dana with a couple of maps. Oh, I'm sorry. The last thing that I should have said is that any foot traffic and tourist traffic on our land will be on like guided tours that will be maintained on specific trails, and we will also make sure that to monitor the populations as much as we can to record any observations or changes that might be occurring. So
thank you for that. I think that you've
Sure.
given loads of information. We're a little short on time, Craig. I
okay.
cut you off, and we do appreciate sincerely the extra information, but I do have 2 more planning meetings, and I
Okay.
need to ask if there are comments and questions from council the one thing I would say is that I read the Renfrew County report quite extensively, and they have no mention of endangered species nor of any swampland or wetland. So I was a bit confused by that. So if you're seeing landing turtles and you have a way to mitigate the risk to them, then bravo to you. The only thing that I saw that the County of Renfrew wanted was just hydrological, to make sure that you had enough water for extra washrooms, watering, all that kind of thing. And I think that's the advice that they're giving us. At that, comments, questions from council, please. I see Councillor Cision has unmuted. Go ahead, Tim.
Hey, thanks, Mayor Murphy. All the points that you have given there, Craig, I'm a little bit of background about myself. I'm in the forest industry and logging, and we always have to take very extreme measures into looking after any kind of species at risk. And you hit all the points out of the park. All I can say is I look forward. I'm only down the road from you a few kilometers to coming down and tasting some of your cider in the future.
We'll use it
Welcome when we're open, for sure.
We'll use it as a team building exercise. When you say hard cider, do you mean there's liquor in your cider, or is that a thing? Oh, look,
It-
Caleb, there
It
sure
would
is.
be- It's alcoholic. Not-
Anything further from council, please? I see nothing. Excellent presentation. Thank you very much. And I want to also extend a thanks to Marshall and Kathleen. You couldn't have asked for better neighbors and people to help you through this. They are beautiful stewards of the land, and we always appreciate them. And I understand I'm getting some garlic. So yeah, guys, I look forward, sincerely, I look forward to this new venture in Bonnechere Valley, and welcome. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right then. I'm sorry, Dana, I've put us behind. I apologize. I've got all this paper, Dana. You gave me all this paper. All right, so it is actually 5:22. So I'm going to call our third public meeting to order. Yes. Item number 3 is a zoning amendment. The purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment is to rezone a 0.4 hectare waterfront residential lot described as parts 1 to 11 inclusive and part 15, Plan 49R-19679, to permit a limited service dwelling on a new lot to permit a minimum of 5.33 meter lot frontage on Nienmar Lane, a private road. All other applicable provisions of this bylaw shall apply. The effect to the amendment is to rezone the lands from rural residential to limited service residential, one exception 40. The subject land is part lot 30, concession 12, geographic township of South Algona, township of Bonnechere Valley, located on Nienmar Lane. The property is owned by Alexander Durganov and Anna, I hope I don't upset this name, Stettengart. It's a wonderful, I think, old German name. I'm sorry about that. Consent application B2/19 is also being considered with this application. Any declaration of interest? I see none. Clerk's reports on notices.
The notice of the meeting was advertised in the Eganville Leader. Notices were sent to the abutting landowners within 120 meters of the property, and they were mailed to the appropriate agencies.
Thank you. And Dana, before we get to a reading of any written comments, I should ask who we have on the call here with regards to this particular agenda item. So I see Mr. Durganov, and hi, Brian, welcome. And that would then be,
I'm here as well, Jennifer. Brianna Kenny from JP2G.
oh, hi, Brianna. How are you? And I see we've got Kristen and Daniel, is that correct?
That's right. Thank you.
Excellent. All right, thank you. Sorry, we just need it for the minutes. Oh, hi, Kathy. All right. Reading of any written comments.
Yes, there was one. And I will read it. as follows. Re-application to amend zoning bylaw 2006-28 of the Township of Bon Valley, together with consent application B2/19 to be heard at the public meeting on April the 20th, 2021. Please accept this written submission in opposition to the above noted application. We are the owners of the property immediately adjacent to the subject lands. We are asking that the application be denied for the following reasons. 1, there are 2 dwellings on the current lot. This is contrary to the zoning bylaw for a rural residential zone, which only permits 1 dwelling per lot. 2, it appears that the applicant did not seek relief from the zoning bylaw before constructing the dwelling that is located on the proposed lot to be severed. He is required to do so. 3, the applicant required a minor variance to permit the dwelling. We have been advised that a minor variance was not obtained. Therefore, there was no consideration of whether the dwelling met the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and no opportunity for either the community or commenting partners to either support or reject the application. 4, a building permit was issued for the dwelling despite the fact that the dwelling did not comply with the zoning bylaw. The zoning bylaw is applicable law under the building code, and a permit cannot be issued if it doesn't comply with applicable law. We believe the building permit should not have been issued. 5, there are 2 planning reports before you on this current application, one submitted on behalf of the applicant and one submitted by the planner for the County of Renfrew for the consent severance application. Both of these planning reports were premised on the assumption that the proposed lot to be severed did not have a dwelling on it, and the opinions were based on a vacant lot. Indeed, it is a condition imposed on the severance approval that a development agreement be entered into. There is no planning report before you that comments on this rezoning application or the fact that the dwelling has been constructed. The opinions in the 2 reports are outdated and incomplete. There are many factors that should be considered now that a dwelling has been built after those planning opinions were submitted. 6, this is not a procedural oversight that can be fixed by any approval of the rezoning application. There has been a substantive failure to follow the legislative requirements of the Planning Act and the Building Code Act. 7, if this rezoning is approved in the face of the applicant's failure to seek relief from the zoning bylaw before building the new dwelling, that approval essentially condones the circumvention of the Planning Act. A minor variance application would have required notice to the neighbors and the opportunity for them to make representations on that application. The whole purpose of the notice is to allow for folks to have the opportunity to know about and have a say in how the community around them is shaped. If this application is approved, it says that it is acceptable for people to be deprived of their statutory rights to participate in the development of their own property. For those reasons, we are requesting that the application be denied. Kristen Franz and Daniel Papik, I'm going to not say it right and I apologize, Papin Constantino, Nymar Lane.
Thank you. Presentation by those in support of the bylaw. Yes, Brian Whitehead, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Murphy, members of council. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Brian Whitehead. I'm a registered professional planner with JP2G Consultants. I'm joined tonight by Brianna Kenny, who's a planner, biologist actually, that helps me with planning, as well as the owner as Alex Durganoff, and I'll just refer to Anna. So given the elevated interest in this, I wasn't originally planning on attending tonight's meeting, but given the interest that's been shown on this property and by individuals who appear to have some knowledge and background of planning, I thought it would be appropriate for me to make a verbal planning report to council in support of this application. The consent process has been finalized, or not finalized. We're in the process of finalizing the conditions. We've been retained by Alex and his wife to file this application for zoning, but we were not the agents for them with their consent application. We were retained by the firm Howe and Bradley were the lawyers involved with that land severance application, but through them we were retained to prepare a planning justification report in accordance with section 14(5) of the land severance policies. It's the additional consent criteria where there's been more than 5 land severances created from an original holding. It triggers the need for a planning justification report and not archaeology, but a hydrogeology study. And in this case, we completed those reports and filed them in July 2019. The lot was slightly undersized, 0.8 acres, but nonetheless, the hydrogeology study did support the suitability that the site was suitable for a well and septic system. The water sample taken from that for that hydrogeology study was done on an adjacent well. There was a well drilled on the property, but there was no dwelling on the lot to be severed at the time that we wrote our planning report. So, and the county in their wisdom decided that because there wasn't a well on the lot to be severed, that it should be sampled. So there was actually an additional hydrogeology addendum report that did the water quality sampling of that well and determined that it was adequate supply of potable water. And over the course of the review of that application, the county insisted that the lot be amended to increase the size to 1 acre. That was done. There were objections to that application, and there was, which forced the means that the staff couldn't make a decision. It had to go to the county's land division committee, and it went to the committee in January. And I wasn't party to that hearing, but I do know that the committee did deem that the application was suitable, and it was granted. And it was granted without any appeals, and the decision provisional consent's now in effect. And there are 3 conditions, one of which is a provisional or a draft survey plan, which is completed, and it forms part of the application. It's the sketch that we've attached to the application. It shows the location of the existing building, septic system, and well on the property. And the other conditions include the rezoning that's before council tonight, and a 3rd condition that requires a development agreement that will implement the recommendations of our planning report, which include the recommendations from the hydrogeology study, some recommendations for this rezoning, as a matter of fact, and also shoreline protection that would be implemented through a development agreement with the municipality. So we filed the application for zoning whenever it's a land severance application, it's a condition of consent approval. Essentially, the land division portion of the decision is not in question. It's provisionally approved, subject to conditions. So the zoning deals with the lot size, lot area, side yard setbacks, and the use of the property. And in this case, we didn't update our planning report to address the when we filed the rezoning application, which is why I'm speaking a little bit at length tonight and giving council an oral planning opinion. And essentially, we weren't involved in the decision to issue a building permit on the property. That's something that if I wasn't consulted by Mr. Durganoff, had he consulted me, I probably would have cautioned him against it. If the municipality advised me about issuing the permit, I probably would have said no. That's probably not a great idea, but it's my understanding that they have a position on the matter, and I'll leave that with the municipality. But the fact of the matter is there is a detailed survey plan provided. I've reviewed that plan, and I'm satisfied that it complies with the proposed lot and building that's on that lot complies with the requirements of the zoning bylaw. The property is designated rural. It complies with the official plan. And the fact of the matter is that the building is there now, and So there's nothing that can be done about that. The building permit's been issued and the building is there. There are currently 2 buildings, dwellings on one lot, which doesn't comply with your zoning bylaw. And that's been pointed out by the objector. However, again, there's not much we can do about that. There is some concern that their rights have not been, their rights have been circumvented under the Planning Act. But the fact that they're actually before council tonight and they'll have an opportunity to present their case, I would submit that their rights are being considered as part of this public consultation process. And council will have an opportunity to hear their side. So at the end of the day, the objection doesn't, other than the concern about the fact that there's 2 lots on the property, I don't see any substantial basis for objecting to the rezoning. The rezoning will bring the lot into compliance with the township zoning bylaw once it's eventually approved and the conditions of the consent are met and the lots are registered. So my opinion is that I can support this application for zoning bylaw amendment as good planning and would recommend that council approve the bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Brian. Presentations again by those in support of the bylaw. Presentation by those opposed to the bylaw. Presentations by those opposed to the bylaw. Presentation by applicant or agent.
Jennifer, sorry, Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Yes, so at some point, maybe this is now, that I would like to present my point, my objection to this. Is this a good time?
Oh, sorry, yeah, sorry. That was presentation by those opposed to the bylaw.
Yeah. So I didn't,
Go ahead.
okay. So Mayor Murphy and councillors, my name is Kathy O'Connor. I am 2 doors down from the property in question. I was the individual that was at the MPAC meeting that Mr. Whitehead talked about back in January. I was the one that was appealing that, or not appealing it. I didn't, as he said, no one appealed it after that meeting because there's a substantial amount of money to put down to appeal. So that was one reason I didn't. So let me just give you, I won't be long, but I'll give you a little bit of history about this information, about this property. I've been around it for over 50 years. I now live, my cottage is a couple of doors down, so I have significant interest. But more than that, I'm also one of 2 representatives that look after Neymar Lane. So as I understand, nobody really cares about the private road, but that is why I'm here. And that was why I was part of the reason I was there in January. So this particular piece, hopefully the councillors know where this is in your township, but there's a number of cottages on this old road, which has been around for probably 30 years anyways. It's been brought up to a 1-lane standard in the last 20 years with a couple of permanent residents down the road. But the rest are all just seasonal cottages. And as Mr. Whitehead said, I believe the property in question has been severed about 5 times in the last, since 2014, when Mr. Jurgenoff took it over. So we are now talking about, instead of an old trailer park that the previous owners had, we're talking about a resort with 7 cottages. There's significant traffic on the Neymar Lane Road. So myself, as one of the representatives, have concerns for that road. And I know that's probably not your issue today, but I wish somebody would look at it, because you as a municipality are making a decision on another severance, getting more money for another severance, getting taxes, and nobody looks at the road issue. So I would like that all taken into consideration.
Thank you very much. It's actually not us as a municipality that would determine whether or not the final say could be that the property is severed. But thank you for your words are noted. Thank you. I'll go back again. Presentation by applicant or agent. Questions and comments from council. I see none either way. Jack, you just unmuted. Did you have something?
Yeah, first, I think Daniel has something, the hand's been up. I don't know if she missed her point when to come in and.
Oh, no, she had her hand up to say that she was here for this meeting. Yeah, then
Okay,
you have to say lower hand.
okay. Okay, I guess the thing we have to, like you said, it's not really, has to do with council, the amount of people that are on that road. It's not our decision to decide how many people can go on the road, and the quality of the private road is, it's not council say if one more house is going to make the difference or not. So it's not, we don't have the power to intervene in that. I guess the other question that I'm concerned about is I don't really understand how a building permit was given to a property when there was really one, when there's an existing building on it. And that worries me that the building permit was even awarded to that. And that's the concern I have. But as was touched on by Brian, it's done now. There's what can we do about it? There's two buildings there now. So I just question how a building permit was even awarded to that. That's my concern.
I agree with you, Jack, and I think internally that is something that we're going to have to deal with outside of this public meeting. As we know, our zoning bylaw will be revamped hopefully by the end of this year. This is one of those very contentious things. Many municipalities allow a second dwelling on a parcel. Unfortunately, we do not. That's going to probably have to change since it is sort of a provincial ish that we have aging at home and secondary dwellings for our parents moving forward. So I'll just throw that out there. But definitely to our CAO, I think that's something that we're going to have to address. If this does go to county and county does not allow the severance, I understand, Mr. Durganov, you are willing to knock down the old house. I just need a nod from you, please, sir. I can't have a debate with you. I just wanted to.
Yes, I signed agreement. If rezoning doesn't work, I should convert my old house in the workshop or storage, or just take it out. But
Okay,
I think this house has some heritage value because it was built about 200 years. So probably
Okay.
I just.
Thank you. I'm not really allowed to engage with you, but I just wanted that out in the open in the
No,
public
for
meeting.
sure. I will comply with law, with by law. No. Yes, for sure.
Okay. Did anybody else on council have anything? So I guess next steps is that this goes to the county to see if a severance would even be allowed after the 5. I'm not sure, especially considering that we are dealing with the official plan amendment 31 at this time. So that will be very interesting. I just want to acknowledge as well. I think I lost. Oh no, there they are. So that I don't screw up anybody's last name again. To Kirsten and Daniel, I want you to know that your concerns here have been noted by council, and we certainly do not want anybody's property rights or their rights to appeal to be stomped on. It sounds like there was a bit of an administrative error in this, and to that, we will be dealing with it internally. But if there's nothing else from council, I do have to get to our next public meeting. Council going once, going twice. All right, thank you all. And finally, I have an item number 4, zoning amendment. The purpose of the amendment is to rezone a 0.75 hectare vacant lot located in Eganville, which is proposed to be developed with a single detached dwelling serviced by a privately owned and operated individual well and septic system. The effect of the amendment is to rezone the severed lands from residential 1 to residential 1 exception 7 to permit development of the lot on private services. The subject lands are part lot 20, concession 21, and part of the road allowance between lot 20, concession 20 and 21, Eganville, located on 4th Chute Road. Is there any declaration of interest? Seeing none. Clerk's reports on notices.
The notice of the meeting was advertised in the Eganville Leader. Notices were sent to the abutting landowners with 120 meters of the property and mailed to the appropriate agencies.
Thank you. Reading of any written comments.
There wasn't any.
Thank you. Presentations. Presentation by those in support of the bylaw. Presentation by those opposed to the bylaw. Presentation by applicant or agent. Comments, questions from council. And in reading, I see that this was approved by the county, so nice to have another home built in our township. That's great. Guys, that concludes the public portion of our meetings. I need you all to log out, please, and log back into our council meeting. I know that this day we're getting weary. Just a few more minutes, guys. We'll get through it.